I'm putting mine back on because I can't see.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Michelle Gibson coming live with you guys from Bobby Ward's Club. I have with us today, and I am getting a little feedback there, but I have Toya Woodland, who is running for the 5th District Representative of the United States government for the 5th District, which is Minneapolis, Minnesota. Okay. And that is Ilhan Omar's office, position right now. And then I also have Terrence Cruz, who is actually with the Green Party. He is the assistant. You're the assistant. What are you? The vice president, the co-chair?
I'm the co-chair of the National Green Party, and I'm the chair of the Minnesota Green Party, and I'm the chair of the Green Party of the United States Reparations Working Group.
Okay, great. And so Toya is actually running under the Green Party.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Before we start talking, Toya, if you could please, somebody just turn your volume down just a little bit for me. Maybe that'll help out with the echo I'm hearing. There's some feedback coming through.
Now my volume's all the way down. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you. Okay. All right, we'll just go ahead and deal with it. I mean, we'll work out the kinks today. And, like I said, we're planning on having these regular podcasts with Toya until she's elected in this position. So I'm really proud that you're running, my sister, in this position for this job.
Thank you.
Really, really proud. Okay. Okay. So let's let Terrence talk about the Green Party first, and then we'll go into your candidacy. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So Terrence, tell us a little bit about your background. Because a lot of people, we want to know who you are and your relationship with Toya and how all this came about.
Well, the way I got involved in politics is I was actually doing working with a small record label. So a lot of the skills that I obtained from there were transferred over into politics. So like photography, video making, writing, and stuff like that. But I was always into politics. So a friend of mine tapped me to be his campaign manager when he was running against Sandy Pappas. And that's when I started learning about the Democrat Party and how they really don't care about Black people and some of the shenanigans that they get involved in during election cycles. So during that campaign, what really turned me off from the Democrat Party is when I was out door knocking or handing out literature for Mr. Walker. And then I seen that Sandy Pappas was handing out literature in our community. So it had a picture with Obama on it and her on it, and they were having a drink. But it said vote Monday for the primary. And I knew that the primary was Tuesday. So I'm like, why is she handing out literature in our community telling people of color the wrong day to vote? When people have to take off work or make certain arrangements to go vote. And
right.
So I started noticing a lot of the dirty tricks that the Democrats would use on the communities that they say that they care about. And that's when I started leaning towards the Green Party.
And that's in Minneapolis, right?
Well, that particular race was happening in St. Paul. Sandy Pappas is in the Minnesota Senate.
Okay. All right. And then so you didn't want to tell everybody, how did you get connected with the Green Party itself? What made you not want to work with the DNC or the Republican Party?
Well, that particular experience right there is when I seen what actually happened, that they would, for one, it was like, okay, he was the better candidate at that time, but then it was like, even Black people still was like, we're going to vote we're going to vote for Sandy Pappas, so it was like they weren't and this is a person who doesn't do anything for the Black community, who said herself that she will not do anything for the Black community because the Black community doesn't for her. Then I start realizing the policies that the Democrat Party just here locally were implementing. So this is before like Black Lives Matter. This is before any of the social justice movements that were happening here. And I was realizing like, wow, our governor is a Democrat. Our mayors are Democrats. Our city council members are Democrats. But yet we have the biggest education gap in America. We have the highest disparities in housing. We have the highest disparities in unemployment. We have the highest disparities in healthcare. And we're voting Democrat, but we're not getting anything in return for it. So we're getting poverty and homelessness and jail and prison, but we're voting. But the people who we're voting for are doing this to us. So I started realizing. Then I was able to be Lena Buggs' campaign manager when she ran against Rena Moran, and that's when I really seen. So once we became the Green Party, it's like you're outside of the Democrat Party, so you can push the Democrat Party. You can challenge them for power, but you can also challenge them on policies. So they weren't talking about police brutality. They weren't talking about raising the minimum wage to a cost of living wage of $15 an hour. All the things that we were running on in 2013 and 2014, the Democrat Party has pretty much adopted. They weren't talking about legalizing marijuana. They weren't talking about anything progressive because they didn't have to, because there was nobody challenging the. They will say that St. Paul and Minneapolis is a one-party town, and there was nobody there, or not a political party that the Republicans couldn't challenge them and say, well, why aren't you guys doing nothing for poor people? But the Green Party could. And, so that's why it's so important to have a Green Party or third parties that can challenge the status quo on issues that are important to Black people and low-income people in general.
Well, and I like
working class people.
You know, Toya was telling me, well, hold on, let's deal with the technical issue. I hear feedback, and I think it's coming from Toya. So wherever you are, go shut the door for me.
I'm going to.
Okay.
I'm going.
Yeah, it's coming from your. Yeah. Okay. So basically, the Green Party, I think, is great for us to transition in as Black people. Okay. Right. Especially here in Minnesota, because we know that the Democratic Party is not working for us. We have issues with some of the issues with the Republican Party, even though we do see Trump trying to reach out. He has acknowledged the fact that, we built this country, and so on. But, so there's a little lag there. So I find it very interesting that Toya was telling me that a lot of the Black candidates that we see, like, in office here in Minnesota are actually with the Green Party. So if you can tell a little bit about that, and then Toya, while he's getting into that, it does sound a lot better. Can you hear me, Toya? Okay, your camera's kind of down. You can hear me? Okay, great. It sounds a lot better. I don't hear the feedback now. But so go ahead and talk a little bit about the candidates that you guys actually put in the office here in Minnesota for the Green Party.
Well, we don't have a whole lot of candidates, but we do have a park board member. Her name is Latricia Matthau, and she's an elected official on the Minneapolis Park Board. She's actually the vice president of the Minneapolis Park Board. Before her, Annie Young was on the park board for a long time, and she's a long-time Green. In the city of Minneapolis, we have city council member Cam Gordon, who is elected to the city council. So he just passed worked on some legislation around rent control, and he'll also will be working on some reparation. They won't be calling it reparations, but they'll be starting to work on some they call it equity type stuff, but it will be focused on reparations in Minneapolis. And then some of the candidates that we have running are Minister Toya Woodland, and we have Darnella Wade is running for in District 65B in St. Paul. against Carlos Mariani.
Okay, okay. And where is that? What does that include? St. Paul and the other areas?
The race is in St. Paul with Carlos Mariani in 65 feet.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, well, Toya, well, she dropped off again, so we'll just keep on talking.
I'm trying.
Okay, you want to come on over there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, just join. Why don't y'all sit together then? We'll do it that way.
Okay. She's good.
Okay. Yeah, well, if you want to move, maybe move your chair over a little bit and y'all sit together. We gonna get it together. This technology is something, isn't it?
Hi.
Hey, finally. Okay. So, everybody, I'm introducing to you all. This is Minister Toya Woodland.
Hi, everybody.
She is again running for the 5th district, which includes, and I'm gonna let you talk about the areas that it includes, okay? But it includes primarily Minneapolis, and that is the seat that Representative Ilhan Omar is in right now. And we want to see her be removed from that seat. A lot of people are very unhappy with her performance, okay, that she has done while she has been in that position. And let's just be clear about it. We are Native Black Americans, and the area that she represents is the largest area for Black Americans in Minnesota. And she is clearly not connected to the community, okay? And so we need representatives that are connected to our community, okay? And that means that they're working on issues that affect us as Black Americans. Of course, Toya will be representing everybody in the district, and she will do a good job at it. But we need to clearly have someone in that position that is going to work for the people and for the people of Minnesota. Okay. So Toya, go ahead and tell a little bit about your background.
Okay. I'm native from Chicago. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. Actually, a little suburb outside of Chicago. I grew up there. It was quite different than it is here. I grew up in a church. I am a minister of the gospel. And what happened is that I as a teenager, I started seeing a lot of disparities in the way that people who look like me were treated, especially men who look like me. You know, I remember my dad getting pulled over by the police, and every time we were pulled over by the police, he had to get outside of his car. Mm-hmm. Whereas if my grandmother got pulled over by the police, she never had to get outside of her car. Mm-hmm. But every time my dad, who worked every day, worked at the steel mill every day, when they had steel mills in Chicago, at East Chicago, he worked every day, took care of his family, but every time he got pulled over, he would have to get out of his car, be searched. I'd have to get out the car had to be searched. Everything it was just a difference from what I saw. Right. And you know, growing up in our community, there began to be a lot of high pregnancy. It became a high pregnancy area among Black teenagers. And part of that is because, you know, first of all, Black parents in those days didn't believe in abortion, but they didn't talk to their children about birth control, and there was nothing to protect young kids against, other than abstinence, and that didn't happen from being pregnant. So what I started to notice is a lot of my friends were getting pregnant, and I wanted, friends to hang out with, so I started a petition, and I gathered 5,000 signatures, and we took them to Springfield so that teenagers, once you got 16, you could go to Planned Parenthood and get your own birth control without asking your parents.
Right. I remember when they passed that law, and it was geared towards us. I mean, that law was passed for us. Okay. And we can see now, because I remember too, because we're not that far in age. Okay. And I remember when I was young, too, how they would always talk about, the teenage pregnancy problem. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And now we see the reason why. See, sometimes we be in situations like, and I say this all the time. We be living in a moment and we're not realizing what's going on politically around us.
Right.
And so later on, like how we can look back and we can say that 1994 Biden crime bill was really bad for our Black community.
Yes.
But at the time, people were like, "Oh, it's so great." We even had like Black representatives voting for that crime bill. You see what I'm saying? And that's the same thing, is that we got to look at what, how these laws, how these policies are affecting our people now. Let's look at them really thoroughly. Let's not pass anything that might have consequences in the future for us. And I believe you're right when you talk about the teenage pregnancy, because our rates of our birth rates now have actually declined too.
Mm-hmm.
Versus a time when we had what? I look at my mom; she had 8 kids. I'm the youngest of 8 kids.
Yeah. My auntie had 13 children.
Yeah. Well, my grandmother, now my great grandmother, my mom's grandmother, she had 19 kids.
Oh my God.
19 kids. So the thing, the point that I'm trying to make here is that we got to really watch these policies and these laws. Stuff like with Planned Parenthood and all of that, Yeah. And
I didn't realize back then that in my selfishness, because I did this because I wanted my friends to be able to hang out with me as a child. In my childish thinking, when I was a child, I thought I was a child, right? So, I didn't realize what I was doing. I was actively taking a part in diminishing the childbirth rate for African Americans, while and the reason why I was welcomed by the Illinois and the white part of Illinois, the white Congress people, is because they that's what they wanted. Mm-hmm. But to have me as the face was great.
Right.
Have a young teenage Black woman saying this is what we're asking for. Mm-hmm. Was great, was awesome for them. But today, as I got older, today, I fight against police brutality and the school to prison pipeline. Keeping our children in school is very big for me. I raised 2 children in the public school system, and it was a fight every step of the way. Fighting with the administration to keep them from being suspended or picked on, to be picked out, to be kicked out. Mm-hmm. And what I realized is, if I could do this for my children, then I should be doing this for all children. It wasn't just my son, who's 27 now. It wasn't just him. Mm-hmm. It was his friends and his friends' friends. And it wasn't just my son who's 19. It was his friends, his friends' friends. So, and I have a model that I believe that there are no such thing as other people's children, right? Mm-hmm. These are our children. These are the children these are children of tomorrow. And it's not just a Black thing. It's not just African American children are being kicked out. Now we're being kicked out at disproportionate rates, higher rates than others, but also disabled children with 504 plans and IEP plans, and children and white children and Asian children. And if we're not teaching our kids, and most of the white children are low income children, let's say that. Mm-hmm. So we're not teaching our children. If they're not in the schools, if they're not participating in the education system, then we're losing out, because this is tomorrow, mm-hmm. right? Our children, literally are our future, because if we look around, the coronavirus is taking a lot of us out, a lot of people out. Mm-hmm. So children can't be affected as highly. So we really are gonna need these children in the future. How are we preparing our kids, all children, for the future? And then by disproportionately kicking Black kids out of school, what are you telling other little white kids? That their education doesn't matter? Are you telling them that they're not equal to you? Are we building a society that reinforces racism in our school system?
Right, right, right. Well, unfortunately, America has a very bad past, and Minnesota even has a really bad past, with dealing with our people. Okay, and hopefully we can, we can make some changes with that, because, as you know, I moved out of Minnesota for about 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
Back in 2007. When I left Minnesota, it wasn't as diverse as it is now. So when I came back, it's really nice to see all the diversity of all the different cultures here, and to see us growing to that next step, like a Dallas, like a Houston, like an Atlanta, whereas things before, they just felt like we didn't have any rights to anything here. So I'm really happy to see that we have actually made, that transition to the, being more urban, being more cultured, looking at other people's differences, and respecting all the different groups of people that we have. Okay. Unfortunately, not all of us are on the same tune. So
Correct.
that kind of leads me into talking about a little bit about what your position is and what you would do different than Ilhan Omar to help the 5th District, to even extend that to helping everybody in the United States. And I think your camera freezed. I don't know what happened there. Can you hear me? Hello? Let me, I am going to, can you hear me? Okay, if anybody's tuning in, we're having some technical difficulties. I'm going to go ahead and continue talking, and I am going to show I'm going to share my screen. Now, I am really new to StreamYard. In fact, this is my first time ever using it, so you guys are going to have to bear with me. Let's see here. Share screen. Okay. So let's see here. Okay. I have 2 monitors. I'm going to share this screen. All right. And everybody, I want you guys to go to Toya's page, to her website, and support her. Okay, if you can, and I mean, when I say support, I mean support her in a donation, and that could be $5 all the way up to the amount that you want to support her with. Okay, hopefully we will be getting a great, and also volunteer. So you can go to her website, which is woodlandforcongress.com. And I'm going to add her back. Look like she's back again. So let's. Okay, Toya, can you hear me? No? Okay, maybe she's not back. Okay, so this is her website right here. And you can just click on volunteer. And we're going to need all types of volunteers for Toya. Now, we're going to be working with Toya as well. Again, I am with Bob Rewards Club. And we also have a partner, which is saleslearning.org. And you can go to that website if any of you guys need any type of direct marketing services. So what we do is we do work with a lot of political candidates. We do, we have a virtual call center Right now with the coronavirus going on, a virtual call center works very good to do business, okay? So what we'll be doing is we will be making a lot of those phone calls. We will be setting up some sales canvassing teams, and that's how come we do need some volunteers for this, you guys. So I am encouraging everybody to please go ahead and volunteer, sign up to be a volunteer. And again, that website is woodlandforcongress.com. And then if you can't volunteer, I am going to ask all of you to please make a small donation, okay? And here they have this in increments of 25, 50, 100, 250, 1,000, 2,500, or other. If you are that person that's struggling and you can't give up to $25, then give whatever you can. And then also, just to let you know, a donation does not always have to be in the form of monetary value. It can also, just one moment, you guys. Toya, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Are you having a problem getting back on?
My internet had went out. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Well, we're still doing the live stream right now, so I think everybody can hear you. So we can just continue on this way. And then again, like I said, I do want to apologize to everybody who's going to be watching this, that we have experienced several difficulties today. But I bet you the next time we do the next one, Toya, we're not going to have these difficulties, okay? So are you able to see the screen and everything? Are you able?
I got to get back over there.
Okay.
Were you able to just what we were just talking about?
I'm sorry?
I was wondering if you were able to hear what we were just saying, but we weren't online. We weren't online.
No, we're online right now. We're still doing this, a live podcast. So this is in the video, everything you say right now on the phone. Okay?
Okay.
So go do me a favor. If you can go to the YouTube page, I can communicate with you that way too. And you can get into this. So if you go to the YouTube page, which is Bob Rewards Club, you'll be able, because I've got 3 monitors in front of me right now. So I can see what's going on over there. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue on talking about how you got into this race. Okay? So okay. And now you told me what motivated you when you were younger, but I want to know what do you bring into the table that it's going to make people of Minnesota proud to have you as the representative?
Okay, so I believe that my genuine love for the community, and when I say community, I mean my entire community, the entire district of Minnesota, 5th District, and my love for Minnesota will make all of the difference in the world. It's the fact that I genuinely care about the people and the livelihood of the people in District 5. I care about the fact that children are being suspended. I care about police brutality. I care about the fact that people have actually lost their children to police brutality. I care about the fact that there's homelessness in this community. I care about whether or not you get to keep your home. I care about whether or not there's adequate transportation to get back and forth to work. It's the fact that I genuinely care. I have a genuine connection to the people here because I am one of the people here. I care about America. I don't believe that there's a Black America or a white America. I believe that we have the United States of America. And as an American, I believe that we are supposed to stand together and work together to help each other and the issues that we face from day to day. I have a genuine connection with the people here.
Right. Yes, and that's very powerful how you just stated that, because we are all in this together, okay? We are, we are diverse. We live in diverse communities, and we all have to learn how to work together for the common good of people. And I think that's one thing that we lack. I mean, we say it sounds so great when we say it, but putting it into action is another story. Okay. So any way that we can get us to come together for the common good without having so much bipartisanship in our political, in our Congress, okay, in our Senate, I think we can get a lot more done. A lot more done. But okay, so let's talk now. Today, you kind of wanted to talk about two things, and then we'll, as I said, we're going to be bringing you back several times. So, we're going to talk about, every issue that's very important to your campaign. And today, you wanted to talk about. Why don't you go ahead and explain what you wanted to talk
about? Okay. Well, I think we briefly touched. We talked about the Florida prison pipeline, and how expulsions and suspensions in school amongst African Americans and children with disabilities highly impact that particular pipeline. Right? And when I say children with disabilities, I'm not talking about children who have physical disabilities, because those are disabilities that we've seen, and they usually have people who are more sympathetic and empathetic with physical disabilities. But I'm more so speaking of children with mental disabilities. Children that are ADHD and autism, and and things of that nature, who are just sort of swept under the rug. And those children are the children that are losing out. Black, white, Asian, Native, no matter what color they are, those children have been, in recent years, the disproportionate rate that they are being suspended is ridiculous. I remember being in school, and we had the special education classes where kids were actually taken care of, where they were actually, they had people in place to help the children in these particular areas learn and slow down and take their time with them. They're not doing that today. They want everybody, no child left behind, and everyone matters. We thrust the children into regular classrooms with teachers who have not been trained to deal with these particular things. And so what inevitably happens is that these children end up either being expelled or dropping out and entering into a system that perpetuates ongoing criminal justice system. The reason I got into this fight originally was because in 2015, they suspended, it was 2014 or 2015, they suspended 400 kindergartens, black kindergartens, in the Minneapolis school system.
What year was that again?
It was either 2014 or 2015. I believe it was 2014.
Kindergartens. How do you suspend a kindergartner?
I was trying to figure it out myself. I could not wrap my head around 400, and now not even a mixture of children, 400 African American children, Native Black children being suspended, and I didn't even know we had that many Black children.
Oh yeah.
Kindergarten in 1 year. What do you do as a child, as a 5-year-old, 4-year-old, to get suspended from school? Do you throw your crayons, or you throwing a spit? But what happens is that a lot of times Caucasian teachers are unable, or they're not capable of communicating or dealing with the African American child, the Native Black child, because their curriculum and the way that they were taught, the way that they were brought up, is totally different than what we face every day as a people.
Well, I think we've all kind of been indoctrinated, and we're used to the environment. So I think there's a little bit more to it. I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Omar Johnson. He's supposed to be here on June 26th. have you ever heard of Dr. Umar? Because he's a psychologist. He's originally from Philadelphia, but he travels all over the world now. And he is a strong advocate on talking about that prison to pipeline with the children, talking about how, he talks a lot about the disabilities, how the schools put the kids on Ritalin and all that stuff. If you're not familiar with him, I tell you to get familiar with him, because he is probably the number one activist on talking about that issue of dealing with disabled children. He's been around for a minute. He started a school, which he hasn't opened it up yet, in Wilmington, Delaware. He's got a lot of criticism, because I don't think he's the best business person mindedly, but he has the intention, even though, you might have a craft in some other area, your specialty. So he needs to bring on the right people to help him out. So he's been raising money, but he bought this huge school that was closed, dilapidated in Wilmington, which he's calling it the Marcus Garvey Frederick Douglass, FMGD or whatever. I'm sorry, I'm getting all the acronyms wrong, but you can go Google him and he'll come up. There'll be a lot of stuff that comes up for him. So, but yeah, it is a problem. It is definitely an issue. When you're saying 400 kids, we've got things that we need to work on. We need to work on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I commend Justice Page for the amendment that he's trying to put together. For the amendment that he's trying to put together for equity in school with our children. It's a noble idea. It's very commendable, and I really appreciate him. I would love to sit down and have a conversation with Justice Page one day. However, it makes no sense to have an equity bill when so that our children can enjoy the same luxuries in education as other children. When our children of color, Native Black children, are being suspended at extremely high rates. If we're not in the school to enjoy the equity, then to receive the education, then the bill is incomplete. It's an incomplete amendment. And if we're going to amend if you're going to make a constitutional amendment, if there needs to be some provisions that ensures that all children, not just white children, not just Asian children, not just, all children are enjoying the equity of this amendment, are enjoying the benefits of this amendment. And in order to do that, we have to put a moratorium on suspensions for K through 8. There has to be a halt. There has to be a stop to suspensions. And there needs to be restorative practices put in place for misdirected behavior, not only for students, but also for teachers. That if we're going to continue to have the lack of diversity in our school systems as far as teachers are concerned, there has to be some extreme bias teaching, some extreme bias classes for teachers. They have to be able to identify with our children. They have to be able to talk and to teach all children, not just children that look like them, but children who look like me. And part of the way that we can rectify this is if we went into, like, the military goes into school and they recruit high schoolers for services. Let's go into the high school and start giving children incentives to these African American children, Native Black children, to become teachers in our public school system. Let's give them education incentives. Partnering with universities like St. Thomas. St. Thomas is a good school. They're always offering tuition reimbursement or scholarships for African Americans. Let's partner with a school like St. Thomas, where we can bring African American students into the university and with scholarships so that they can become teachers here in Minnesota. And then in their second year of teaching, let them go into the school and become interns. They have paid internships with the Minneapolis Public School. because one thing that the statistics show is that one black male teacher in every school, where there are black male students, increases the graduation rate by 40%.
Really? No,
Yeah.
I've never heard of that
Just
study.
one.
Wow.
Just one.
But I believe it, but I never heard of that. Wow. That is something that we need to spread along. Because a lot of people, like even Dr. Umar, that's how come they started private schools. Or there's another group that I follow as well, where they just outright said that the public school system is so messed up that why even try to fix it? Because it's just completely, with the curriculum and, from everything that the kids learn to how they discipline, it's just so screwed up that why fix it? So a lot of them are going to doing homeschooling. And in fact, I was looking at a report the other day, and they were talking about what, the fact that, what is it going to be like after this year for kids that have been actually, they're doing their schoolwork right now from home because of the coronavirus. So is it going to be easier for them to transition back? And a lot of advocates who are in, homeschooling advocates are saying now to keep the kids at home. Actually find a way to keep the kids at home.
We've talked about here in Minnesota how it would look just to take our children out of school, because our children are just a number. They're a financial benefit to the school system here. They're not cared for in the way that we think they should be cared for. And with this COVID-19, what it's showing us is that it's giving us opportunity, like a test run, how it would look if we put our children out of school and educated them from home. Right? It's giving us an opportunity to see, okay, they have a program here in Minnesota where it's called K through 12, where your children can go to school online, right? Which I think is a wonderful idea. What it does is it allows them to learn at their own pace, first and foremost. They're not feeling the pressure of a teacher that may not like them or may not. And even with this, some schools are going to be closed for the rest of the school year, right? I know in Washington D.C. they close their schools for the rest of the school year. Just to give them an opportunity to see how that might work. And I think that when we were growing up, I was growing up, they say take the village, right? Right. So it was like if you had trouble down the street with Miss Harris, by the time you got home, you done got yelled at or spanked at least 3 times before you got to your mother, right? So with that same sense of community, I think it's a time that we need to come together as community and help our children with this. Help our children by bringing them to an in-home out of that traditional school, that traditional learning environment, and bringing them home where they can learn at their own pace and not be subjected to suspension, not be subjected to being expelled, and able to actually graduate with a sense of dignity.
Well, and I just add that the great party of the United States, our platform, we call it the full and complete reparations for the American descendants of slavery. Part of reparations proposal is having, which is part of Toya Woodland platform, is having the Board of Education of African Ancestry. So the Board of Education of African Ancestry would recommend what type of teachers should teach in school districts that are predominantly Black, what type of curriculum should be taught, what type of lunch to be eaten, who the books should be. Who do we get the textbooks from? Who do we buy the chalk from?
Right.
Who do we buy the laptops from? Because all of this is, when you buy chalk from a certain company, that creates generational wealth from that company. If you buy textbooks from a certain company, that creates intergenerational wealth from that company. But it also helps these textbooks also help form the student's ideology or their worldview. So we want to make sure that when our kids are being taught that they're being taught, education should help them solve their problems. So we want to make sure that foundational Black Americans are being taught
the proper way. The proper way.
Yeah, the proper way, and things that are going to help them solve their problems. So if we suffer from diabetes, then our pre-education should be teaching us about diabetes, should be teaching us about home ownership, should be teaching us things that are going to help close the disparities when they grow, so that the kids and priests now come up with the solution to dismantle white supremacy and institutional racism when they grow up.
Right. And, research has shown that, Black people, number one, we did much better in business during that period of Reconstruction, right after slavery, okay? And until all of our businesses got burned down or what have you, until this whole thing with integration and, in the 40s and the 50s, and then in the 60s, of course, full integration in the 1964 Civil Rights Bill. It showed that our teachers, when we were just in them small one-room classrooms down in the South, that those Black women put out more scholars, they put out more people that were smarter and more of an asset to this society, okay? So we need to go back and look at some of them things that were going on, even though they were all not good, because, we were dealing with Jim Crow, we were dealing with so much, racism back at that time, but our people and our communities were more tight-knit. They were more connected, and they were more, it was more promising. We put out, even like I refer to one of my ancestors who I admire was Booker T. Washington. Okay. And that's a whole nother conversation, but partly because of what he did for the National Negro League, getting that started. So when we look at Black Wall Street, we're talking about Booker T. Washington, okay? And a lot of people don't want to associate the business legend of Booker T. They only give him credit for the, starting Tuskegee Institute, which, but that's a whole nother story. But I think that is good that you guys have that, you guys are working on that and have that platform. My only concern is, though, if we don't change the curriculum, if we don't change it, okay, it's just gonna, permeate, and more problems are just gonna keep happening on down the line. So that's real good.
That's where the Board of Education of African Ancestry will come in as far as the curriculum goes. But then, Michelle, we have to look at the fact that when we were coming up, we were taught the same curriculum, right? The difference between me being taught in Illinois and Chicago is I was taught this curriculum through the eyesight of a Black teacher, right? Through the lens of a Black educated woman or a Black educated man who taught this white curriculum that was given to us through their lens, right? That made us understand what was going on in America, and they reinforced who we are and whose we are and where we came from back then. Where a lot of our children here today, and even in Chicago today, don't get the same benefit that was given to me as a child. I don't think that I would have the knowledge that I have, or be the person that I have, or have the commitment to society or community that I have had it not been for those Black teachers in those schools. So
but the curriculum must change, and it must be a curriculum that is going to nourish the psychological development of the Black child and help the Black child solve the Black community's problems.
And what do you guys think about, what was that? I think it was George Bush's, when he was in office, they passed that Don't Leave One Child Behind Act, or whatever that was. Now,
No Child Left Behind.
No Child Left Behind, thank you. What do you think about that? Because there's a lot of criticisms about that act as well,
Okay, so the fundamental reason for No Child Left Behind was for teachers to do everything they could to educate children. But what happened was it got distorted in the interim. And No Child Left Behind became, I'm going to pass you by any means necessary. I'm going to move you on because we have this No Child Left Behind rule. But George Bush, I'm never taking up for Republicans. But his initial, I believe that the reason for No Child Left Behind was that we could push our educators to actually educating our children. And from the White House to the outhouse, it got distorted, and we began to just push children along.
So you're saying that it's distorted because they're being, and you're right, because there's been a lot of lawsuits regarding that. I know that there was some in Atlanta. So you're saying basically because the teachers know that they're not going to get paid, okay, or they're not going to get it, or the accreditation is going to go down or whatever, that they're just pushing these kids along, even though they're not knowledgeable or anything like that. They don't have what it takes to really be successful in life.
Yes, and then a lot of these teachers have tenure. So they have tenure and they have their union. So if even if they're pushing children ahead or pushing them along, there's really nothing that you can do to the teacher to reprimand that teacher, even knowing that they're not doing exactly what they should do when it comes to children. And they put a lot of the teachers with tenure in schools where they're comfortable. But when they come to like inner city schools and they're pushing these children along, there's nothing that we can really do behavior wise or there are no consequences for them. Just like when police officers shoot Black people, there are no consequences for them. So we're seeing a system full of people in charge who can really do just basically what they want to do without consequence when it comes to African American people.
You are so right about that, and we want to stop that. We want to make a change. So we're gonna kind of close it out with that comment. We're approaching on the hour now, and I didn't want to go over an hour. But we're gonna bring you back, as I said. Hopefully, you can come back. You and Terrence can come back every single week for an hour, and let's have a discussion on what's going on and the things that you're working on and all that sort of thing. Would you guys?
That sounds great. Then next week we'll have our internet and computers and
yeah. So I want to. If you guys want to just give your last comments on anything that might have not got expressed, or also give how people can contact you, and what are your wishes right now to help for everybody to kind of help out with your campaign so you can get elected.
Okay, well, I'm gonna let Trent go first, and then I'll close out.
Okay.
If you guys can come. Like our Facebook page is MN Green, or the Minnesota Green Party Facebook page, and then our website is mngreen.org. You can also check out the National Green Party website is gp.org, and then join the National Green Party Black Caucus. We're different. There's the Democrat Black Caucus, and then there's the Green Party National Black Caucus, which all of our members support full and complete reparations. The Democrat Party, the Black Caucus, all the members of the Democrat Black Caucus have not signed on for reparations yet. But that's mngreens.org and the Minnesota Green Party Facebook page. And then if you could go to Woodland for Congress, I'll let her tell you.
Okay.
And so I can be reached at woodlandforcongress.com and for donations and to sign up for volunteers, to volunteer. And if you could go to my site, Woodland for Congress Facebook site, and like my page. Right now, I want to see the people of this state, of this community, of my district doing living life instead of merely surviving. For years, we've been surviving as a people, and today I just would like to see us live. You know, to take a breather, to be able to enjoy life as we've never known it before.
Yep.
So that's where I am, in living in a state living in a district where it is the worst, is the fourth worst place for Black people to live in the country. We want to change that.
Yes, we do.
We want this district to be a place where all people are thriving.
That's
and all
right.
people are succeeding. White, black, brown, green, purple, and yellow. We want them all to succeed, right?
Yes.
Because we want to bring healing to our nation, and healing to our country, and healing to our community. And that's just where I am right now. And I thank you for having me on. I thank you for the listeners listening. And I anticipate, talking with you next week.
Yes.
And I had a ball. I just thank you for letting me share about my little bit on my platform today.
Yes.
Even with all of our technical difficulties.
We still got it done though. A little choppy, but we still got it done, and it's going to get better. So again, I want to thank you and anybody who's going to watch this video. You guys, please go support Toya for the 5th district. Again, she's running against Ilhan Omar. And with all the controversies going on, this is the time to get rid of her. And Toya is a great candidate for that. Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Don't get woodlandscongress.com. And just, I need all of the support. I need everyone's support.
Yeah. Everyone's, And if you've got a platform too, let's invite Toya to come on to do an interview. Okay? So the more public relations, the more people get to know who she is, the better chance she has to be elected. And I think that she is the right one for this job. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Well, I will be talking to you guys later, and thank you again. Have a good day.
You have a best day.
All right. Bye-bye. Again, you guys, thank you for joining us, and stay tuned. Stay tuned for all the episodes that we are going to have, all these podcasts. We are going to be interviewing a lot of Black-owned businesses, a lot of people who are movers and shakers in our community. Okay? So have a wonderful day, everybody, and join Bob Rewards Club. Bye-bye.